Hey y'all, welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller, Recruiting in Yoga Pants. So this week we are, my content tends to fit in one of two buckets, I feel like. All right, little sidebar, little explanation before we get into the details here. I try to create content that job seekers can immediately start using. Like, oh, format a resume like this. Oh, network like that, right? I try to give y'all some very specific hands-on tactical tips that you can leverage. And then sometimes I just try to explain recruiting. I don't know which one y'all prefer. Hopefully you find a little bit of value in both. But this week, definitely leaning more towards the latter. And I want to specifically talk about one of the most argued and debated metrics in all of recruiting, and it is quality of hire. So, the majority of people that I have encountered anyway, and this was backed up by a poll that someone on LinkedIn did, the majority of people agree that this is a shared metric. Recruiting is not, cannot, and should not be held solely responsible for quality of hire. Part of the problem is we don't even know what quality of hire means. Does that mean they're still here after 6 months? Does that mean they've been promoted after a year? Does it mean something else entirely? So this is one of those weird metrics that on its face looks like a good idea, but once you start really peeling back the layers of it, it can get messy real fast. Okay, so let me give you an example. Some years ago, a few companies ago, before big tech, I was getting my behind handed to me because we were losing people on this one particular team. I was hired, as soon as I was hiring one, two more were leaving. I could not keep up with the backfills and just the demand from this team. So I'm getting dinged for quality of hire, like I'm bringing crappy people to the organization, and that's why no one's lasting more than 6 months. Well, that doesn't seem entirely fair. So we did a little inspection, y'all. And what we found was that people were treating this opportunity as a bit of a stopgap, right? I'm just going to get this job before I can bounce and go work for a competitor, or better yet, a vendor. This was a reseller that worked with lots of other tech companies, and we sold their equipment and services and things. So anyway, but a lot of people were coming in I'm just going to use this as a stepping stone to the next thing. And they were going to work for our customers, for our partners, in some cases for competitors. So that was one thing. And the second thing, the director was just not a good person. We started doing exit interviews. I started following up with people I'm so sorry, I just heard you left after 4 months. Could you give me some feedback? Is there something I did during the recruiting process? Nope. I don't want to work for a jerk. Noted. So, had to do some inspection, had to do some explaining, had to do some follow-up. I ended up leaving the company. There were just some battles recruiting's just not going to win, friends, and that was one of them. But there was logic behind all of these moves and why people were leaving. We were not paying very well for what we were asking for. We were not really treating people well once they were on the job. Our training and onboarding was really basically non-existent. There were multiple things that were feeding into this massive attrition problem. And none of them could be laid at the feet of talent acquisition. In fact, it was so bad at one point that I started telling people, I'm going to make you this offer and I'm going to recommend you not take it. And I know that sounds crazy. But here's why. And I would actually tell people, like, you are going to find another job paying twice as much in 3 months. And I would rather save us all the time and trouble of you actually joining this company. Gee, Amy, why'd you leave? Anywho, I share all that as just one kind of high level example of why this is not a metric solely owned by recruiting. There are way too many other variables for me to confidently say, like, yeah, I can take responsibility for that. So what is a job seeker to do with this information? Okay. First of all, understand that as you are going through the recruiting and the interviewing process, this is the courting phase. Okay. I don't like recruiting is like dating analogies. I think they're very dated and kind of gross, even though I used them a lot back in the 90s and the early aughts. I'm ashamed of myself, y'all. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. But I'm going to make an exception for this one moment in time because there is definitely this opportunity to, use that time to court people and to like make them feel warm and fuzzy about the opportunity and make them feel warm and fuzzy about the team and the work and the people they're going to work with. And so what can a job seeker do about that? Ask questions. Especially once you are at offer stage. Even throughout the interview, you should be able to ask questions. You should be able to understand what's important to you, what things do you need to know, what's going to make you feel good about accepting this offer, and make sure that you're getting that data. So whether you're asking questions during the initial phases of the recruiter process, I actually have recruiter FAQs on the website, recruitinginyogapants.com. Go up to templates and FAQs in the top little bar there, and you'll see drop downs with all kinds of good stuff for you. Okay, all free of charge, no strings attached, no mailing lists, no nonsense. So go grab those recruiter FAQs. That'll give you a quick heads up on things that you can talk to your recruiter about. But also during the interview process, ask the people that you might be working with, what is it really like to work there? What keeps you here? What is your favorite thing about this? If I could hand you a magic wand, what would you change? There's lots of things that you can ask at the appropriate times, okay? The second thing, once you have the offer, now the ball is back in your court, friends. They want you. They want you. They're giving you money. They're hoping you accept so they can please God stop recruiting for this role. Everybody loves an accepted offer. Now is an opportunity for you to dig deeper and make sure that you're covering all of those bases. What are the things that matter to you? Now, it's going to be different for everybody, okay? So I'm not going to give you like a list of questions you should ask, but I do want you to think about what matters to you so that you're gathering the right data. But maybe it is training. Hey, I'm going to be moving into a different field here. I'm an established like structural engineer in automotive, and now I'm moving into medical devices. And what does the ramp up time look like, right? What does success look like in the first 90 days, 6 months, whatever? What are the things I can expect during the annual review? What does good look like? Again, I'm always going to harp on what does good look like? What are the metrics, the expectations, the deliverables, what have you? I want to know those things as a recruiter going into a new job, and you definitely deserve to know those things as well going into a new job, whatever it might be. So this is a great opportunity for you to request what we call a sell call. So that's an unofficial name for it, obviously. But this is where I tell my hiring manager, hey, get on the phone with Joe. He's got his offer in hand. I've handled the money conversation. He wants to talk to you more about the day in the life, and please go sell him on this position. Go tell him why it's great, but don't lie. Have to be honest, people. We're setting ourselves up for failure if we're not honest, even if it's ugly. So as a job seeker, I want you to ask those questions, because if a company is truly tracking quality of hire, you deserve to know what you can do from the brand new employee perspective to make sure that you are showing up as a quality hire. That's what I would care about. Okay. So as a recruiter, this is a hill I'm willing to die on. I am not taking ownership of this metric because too many of y'all are involved in not only the hiring process, but also the onboarding and managing process, which I have nothing to do with. And secondly, candidates don't know what they don't know. So we have a responsibility, starting with TA all the way up through leadership, to let you know what is important, what you'll be measured on, and what does good look like. All right, friends. Didn't go where I thought it was going to go, but I think it went somewhere interesting. So let me know if this helped at all. If you have any further questions about this metric or about things that you should ask as you're getting to those stages of the interviewing process in your own search. And as always, see you next week.